Today is the Feast of Pentecost, the untamable feast, the feast that no commercial company has bothered to find out how to exploit. I say it every Pentecost. If you've heard me last Pentecost, you'll hear it again today. There's no Pentecost bunny, no Pentecost hats, no Pentecost gift giving. But today I would like to say a few words about one of the most important fruits of the Holy Spirit. The fruit of joy. In Galatians chapter 5, St. Paul lists the whole lengthy list of the fruits of the Holy Spirit. First there's love, then there's joy, then there's peace and forgiving spirit and courage, etc. But if we are really in the Holy Spirit that we received at our confirmation, joy should be a very important part of our life. Now, joy is different from happiness. Happiness is an emotion. It comes and goes. And the scriptures clearly point out there are times when we should be sad. It's normal. We should be heartbroken on occasion. We should weep and grieve. Jesus himself went through all of the human emotions, but never sinned. But joy is something deeper than happiness. It's an anchor of our soul in God. In John's Gospel, just before Jesus' own arrest and execution, he says to his disciples, I want you to share in my joy, and may your joy be full. We should be full of joy rather than full of baloney. And when we're rooted in God, joy has to be a part of our pilgrimage. If it's not, we have to examine our conscience and say, what is preventing me from having joy as a part of my journey? And it may be because we're asking God for worldly things or seeking happiness in worldly things which are fleeting. Even things like romance, if they're not rooted in God, ultimately will not bring individuals or couples joy. We have to be rooted in God to have an ocean of joy to sustain us over the course of our life. When we look at the world as a whole, what do we see? Generally, we see a culture, a nation, a world that at best is in a state of low-grade depression. And psychologists and psychiatrists, their job is to take people from desperate depression and bring them all the way up to normal unhappiness. But as believers, we have more than that. We have the capacity for joy. And it should be a part of our daily life and our pilgrimage here on earth. I'm convinced that the greatest evangelical witness we could give is simply being joyful people, so that the worldly people will say, what do they have that I lack? And they might begin to look for the source of that joy that comes only in God, and the perfect source of that joy that comes in Jesus Christ, knowing and loving him and leading our lives according to his values. Now, on the internet, I've posted many videos over the years, and it used to be on YouTube, I'd get tons of comments. You're a weirdo. You're worshiping pagan gods. You're deluding your followers. All those nice things. And some people would come to my defense and say, oh, no, it's the Catholic Church has the fullness of revelation. He's doing what the Lord wants. There would always be that mix. Now there's dead silence on YouTube. The trolls and commentators, I guess, have moved on to other aspects of social media. But I think the nicest compliment I ever had, one person said, just turn the audio off on Father Jeffrey's homilies and you'll see joy. And I really never was striving for that. It just sort of happens. Although I did read somewhere that once you can fake sincerity, you got it made. And in our journey, though, it should just come naturally to us. We don't have to pretend to be joyful. We don't have to put on a joyful air. It will be just there as we participate in the joy of God. And when we end our lives in this world under the power of the Holy Spirit, we'll be able to live and enter that kingdom where joy never ends.